Of the Honorable to welcome all of you. Hafa day, Tirowami, Amaga Umogaan, Iliso Tumahremi. Welcome to the Marianas Working Group Tech Symposium. We are here at the beautiful property of Kevin's at the Aqua Resort Club in Atsugao, Saipan, Isangkatan na Island Marianas. And the Marianas Working Group encompasses Island Goni, Gisangkatan siha, Saipan, Tinian, Luta, Zan Imas Sanlitan, Gi Islota, Island Guahan. Without no further ado, please rise and take off your caps for the presenting of the colors. Commanding and carrying the U.S. flag is Cadet Captain Balignasai Maro. Carrying the CNMI flag is Cadet Captain Yang. Kevin, the right rifle guard, is Cadet Captain Alovera Ataigeo. And the left rifle guard is Cadet Captain Kamotu Ramona.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare of blasters seen in air gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sing us that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Samuel way, when he were far away. Sang ras febuhan, tirong elu, lihat tel falu, Marianas ay mareti. Sang ras febuhan, tirong elu, lihat tel falu, Marianas ay mareti.
Zeus Masi, Gus Kaipet, and Miss Jasmine. Thank you so much. And of course, the color guards. Please remain standing as we call up our Bishop of the Diocese of Talancanoa, His Excellency Bishop Ryan Jimenez, the invocation.
Through the work of our hands and the help of technology, we cooperate with the Creator to improve the earth as a dwelling place of the human family. By our efforts to bring the work of creation to perfection, we contribute to the advancement of society, carry out Christ's mandate to follow Him, serving one. Let us bless God then. We are gathered here today for the Tech Symposium and pray that what we do is always for the common good and for the greater glory of God. And so let us pray. God of goodness, maker of heaven and earth, you have chosen us to be your people. Help us to give you glory in everything we do. Blessed are you, Lord our God, and worthy of all praise. For you have provided for the perfecting of your creation, human labor and intelligence, and you show your own power and goodness in the inventions of the human race. We thank you, Lord, for creating the world in all its beauty. We thank you for memory, which enables us to build on the experiences of the past, for imagination, which admits us to a wider world than we could have otherwise known, and for foresight, by which we plan for the future. Bless the Marianas Working Group, this text symposium today. We all seek to be good stewards, O Lord. Bless us as we gather here to share your gifts, to learn from each other, to use technology wisely and responsibly for the common good. Send us your Spirit and be present among us in the mouths of all who speak, in the ears of all who listen, and at the heart of all we say and do. We ask all this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Sinsizo nagrecibimento, Bishop Jimenez. Thank you, Eliso, si Zeus Masi. Please take your seats as we now continue with our program for today. And now it is my pleasure to introduce to you all as this part of the program. He is a proud student of the Northern Marianas College, my alma mater, back in 19... and one of the questioners for the recent successful and insightful town hall forum that was sponsored by the Northern Marianas College, the associated students of Northern Marianas College, that was held at the American Memorial Park Museum Amphitheater. He's a very athletic person as well, who loves to run, bike, and swim. He is also interested in the business industry, which is one of the main reasons why he's pursuing to obtain his AA business from NMC, and as I'm sure on forward. Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary for ASNMC, Mr. Darrow DeLuna, our moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, but I would also like to welcome Mr. Gonzalez, who is our MC. Everyone, please have a warm round of applause for our panelists for this morning. First, we have Mr. Clifford Aldon, who is a Chief Information Officer. Second is Mr. Frank Lujan Jr., Chief Technology Officer, and Brian Beck, who is a FEMA Integration Team Lead. Mr. Clifford Aldon serves as the Chief Information Officer for the CNMI Department of Finance Office of Information Technology. Through Executive Order number 2021-09, CIO Aldon is charged with developing the IT portfolio of the executive branch and leads the strategic IT program initiatives, including management, operations, and security of critical data sensors, creating, implementing a cybersecurity plan for the entire CNMI, and supporting the CNMI-wide mission critical applications. CIO Aldon continues to strengthen partnerships with federal agencies on cybersecurity and broadband fronts, while establishing and maintaining relationships with state and territory peers, contacts in non-government organizations, and public sector vendors and consultants. Everyone, again, please welcome Mr. Clifford Aldon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, Mr. Aldon, approach your panel, the panel. Later. Thank you.
Our second panelist is Mr. Frank Lujan Jr., who is a Chief Technology Officer. Frank Lujan is a true master in the field of technology and has contributed significantly to the advancement of the systems used in the government offices in Guam. As the current Chief of Technology Officer of the Government of Guam, he is the key player in making sure that all processes and systems are properly in place and up to par with new technology and the demands of the present time. He oversees the design, implementation, and management of information systems within various government agencies and all government technological systems. Again, please welcome Frank Lujan.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lujan, please approach. Take your seat.
Our third panelist is Mr. Brian Beck, FEMA Integration Team Lead. From Denver, Colorado, Mr. Beck moved to Saipan alone to start a new chapter in life just 12 days prior to Super Typhoon U2 making landfall in October 2018. After feeling a deep sense of community while volunteering during cleanup, he gratefully accepted a program management position at CHCC's Crisis Counseling Program U2 and oversaw the delivery of behavioral health outreach services to over 20,000 survivors on Saipan and Tinian. Following the end of his contract with CHCC in the summer of 2020, Mr. Beck accepted a position with FEMA where he was CNMI. After completing a 25-month field deployment, he now returns to his steady state role as FEMA Integration Team Lead for the CNMI. Please welcome Mr. Brian Beck.
Mr. Beck. Welcome.
I would also like to welcome our honorable guests, Honorable Governor Ralph De Leon Guerrero Torres, Honorable Senator Vinny F. Sablan, and Chief of Staff Will Castro. Honorable Governor Ralph De Leon Torres is the 9th Governor of the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas Islands and is presently the youngest governor in the United States. Born on August 6, 1979, Governor Torres was raised on the island of Saipan until his family moved to Boise, Idaho, where he attended high school. He attended Boise State University and earned his bachelor's degree in political science. Prior to his current term in office, Governor Torres served alongside Lieutenant Governor Victor B. Hokag, succeeding the late Governor Eloy S. Enos, following his unfortunate passing. Governor Torres also served as president of the 18th Northern Marianas Commonwealth Senate and as a chairman of the Committee on Health and Welfare in the 17th Northern Marianas Commonwealth House of Representatives. Everybody, please welcome our Honorable Governor, Ralph D.L.G. Torres. Our second honorable guest is Honorable Senator Vinny Sablan. Senator Vinny F. Sablan is the Senate floor leader and a graduate of the University of Phoenix with a Bachelor of Science in Management. He is currently the chairman of the Senate Standing Committee on Rules and Procedure, the Senate Standing Committee on Public Utilities, Transportation, and Communications, and the Saipan Northern Marianas Northern Islands Legislative Delegation. Everybody, please again welcome Honorable Senator Vinny Sablan. Lastly, I would also like to welcome one of our honorable guests, Chief of Staff Will Castro. William Castro is an expert in cybersecurity, having trained and certified by the Stanford Advanced Cybersecurity Program, and an active key member of the government of Guam, working as the Chief of Staff in the CNMI office of the governor. He has contributed to the publication of various studies and is an exemplary writer, having been able to publish and produce more than 3 publications which covered sustainable approaches to good governance, planning, assessment, and effective management of government budget. Again, welcome our Chief of Staff, Will Castro.
And if I may, we also like to welcome the OIT's division's head of the department. He was the Director of Financial Administrative Services for the college a few years back, Director of Finance Division for Public Lands, Fiscal Officer for Portland State University, Senior Manager, Business Officer for UC San Diego, Business Systems Analyst as well for UC San Diego, and now currently at the helm of the perhaps the largest and most precious department as a steward of our public coffers throughout the Northern Marianas. Please welcome the Secretary of Finance, David Dilongidero Atalik.
Everyone, I would like to welcome Mr. Clifford Aldon for his opening remarks.
Mic check.
All right, half a day in Tiro. Welcome to the Marianas Working Group Tech Symposium. I would like to acknowledge the presence of our Honorable Governor Ralph de Leon Guerrero Torres, Senators Vinny Sablan, Chief of Staff Will Castro, Secretary of Finance David Atalik, Gov Guam Chief Technology Officer Frank Lujan, FEMA Integration Team Lead Brian Beck, and other distinguished guests. The Marianas Working Group has put together today's agenda to engage our attendees in matters that are top of mind from our senior leadership. Today's topics range from cybersecurity, broadband, and emergency communications. All three are linked by the fabric of technology, enabling us to safely surf the web, conduct our business, seek entertainment and personal improvement, connect with our community of family, friends, and professionals through reliable and affordable broadband internet connection, and enhance our safety and security during times of emergency. Across the verticals of governance, be it central government, public health, public education, or critical infrastructure, the need to bolster our cybersecurity defenses is ever more apparent to safeguard our sensitive data, protect our employees, and secure our offices and facilities from cyber threats and malicious activities. As the last week of the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, I encourage every agency, every business, and every citizen to visit the websites of our cybersecurity partners to learn more about the tactics, techniques, and procedures that can elevate your cybersecurity posture and maturity levels. At the broadband front, we have several opportunities to close the digital divide and provide every citizen the digital equity right to learn, to compete, and to work. Having access to affordable and reliable internet is essential to our daily lives, as is electricity and running water. Lastly, modern emergency communication solutions are designed to save lives during times of crisis. We are currently looking into the feasibility of implementing such a solution that will allow first responders to the ability to quickly react to an emergency event through a coordinated effort and get real-time support throughout the engagement. We have a great lineup of speakers today to touch on these subject matters and additional activities to engage your thoughts and collaboration. Thank you everyone for taking a pause from your normal activities to join us here. We appreciate your participation and look forward to the conversations ahead. Suzu's Maasi.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause to our Chief Information Officer for the Northern Marianas, Office of Information Technology under the Department of Finance.
Next, I would like to welcome Mr. Will Castro for a special recognition.
Hafidi, and good morning, everybody. First of all, let me take a moment to thank the organizers. Isn't this a really nice setup? Can we give a round of applause to Jackie, Joe, and of course the visionary, Chief Aldon. Thank you. I mean, you really are the inspiration behind the substance today. Truly. How about a round of applause? I want to thank my colleagues for being here, my predecessor, the now CTO, Frank Lujan. You've been there for what, 4 years now, Frank, at Gov Guam? He's been the CTO for 7 years, so it's been that long since I served there. Thank you, Frank, for going out of your way, coming over, investing your time. Thank you to my partner over here, the Chief Financial Officer, David Atalik. Can I get these guys a round of applause? Really cool people to work with. And a gentleman I see day in and day out, all day, sometimes all night. Former colleague, I used to be a senator in the Guam legislature. We were colleagues. Senator Vinny Sablan, who has a really important role throughout the region, and my future boss. Sorry, not sorry, but thank you, Senator Vinny Sablan. He's here. Could you give him a round of applause? It's a tough act when you got bad eyes. So as I look down, I won't see any of you. That's probably a good thing. I want to take a moment to talk about the Marianas Working Group. This is a policy framework that began maybe around 2017, Joe. It began with former Governor Eddie Bazacalvo on Guam and Governor Torres, thankfully, who's still serving. And they wanted to put together a policy framework through which they can identify issues of mutual concern and benefit. I mean, I was a director, a cabinet official at the time, and the vision was quite vast. But it's so important, and we overlook a lot of the details. But the Marianas Working Group was identifying issues as simple as reciprocity agreements between driver's licenses. Can you imagine that you couldn't go to Guam with a CNMI driver's license and have that honored throughout its system? Something as small, you would think, as that. But the reason why we're here, I hope, in great part, is because we can start to talk about issues. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you to give a round of applause. And those in our government, please rise. The Honorable Ralph de Leandro Torres. He's here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I guess. This is the part where, please have a seat. He totally doesn't like it when I do that, but it's proper. As a matter of fact, it's so proper that I don't know if you noticed that when we began the national anthems, that I went up there to lift the CNMI flag, and thankfully, where's my partner there? See, Juan Bolis, where are you, MC? Thank you for assisting. It's important, as a matter of protocol, that one state flag is not lower than the other. And I think that is so important, although small for many of you, it's symbolic to both peoples, and in many cases, sovereign nations. In this case, I think it's symbolic of today. That wasn't by design, that just happened. I think we were short of flag posts, we brought in a flag from somewhere else. But it goes to show that in this discussion, when we have these talks about these policy issues, never over, never under, but always on the level. Some of you know what that means, and I appreciate that. Back to the Marianas Working Group. So this awesome governor created that policy framework, and 7 working groups came from it. Everything from food security to telecommunications to education to free trade. As a matter of fact, we have some farmers here. How about a round of applause for our farmers who brought their wares? And we didn't have enough time to put together 7 working groups because we ran out of time, and we needed to emphasize one theme. And if there's one issue that needed to be addressed right here, right now, it would be this issue of emergency communications, cybersecurity, telecommunications, because it's Cyber Awareness Month, Mr. Secretary, and so there couldn't be more timely topics. So thank you to all of you dignitaries who are here. It's my hope as being the lead staffer to this awesome policy framework working group that we emerge from it with not only acknowledging the barriers to entry, but in coming to conclusion on how best to move forward. I work with subject matter experts in the room who could talk your ear off about all the nuances associated with the policy inconsistencies between Guam and the CNMI and Hawaii, the territories and the rest of the country. And my only guidance to you would be is move forward with the best intention with the people of the Commonwealth. So with that said, my boss is in the room. This is my cue to stop talking. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much to the Guam delegation, to the honorable representative from the FSM. Thank you so very much. Can we give our distinguished elected official a round of applause? Did you want to go ahead and put the Mars on? I think it's okay to put the Mars on. For those who are not aware, this is customary. Usually it symbolizes a blessing, the spirit of all Pacific peoples, to be frank. But it's such a common practice here. You can go ahead and affix the Mars. So back to while they're doing that, while I'm buying time, I really hope we come out in open discussion. Those from the autonomous entities, we have NMC, CACC. Are the utilities in the house? Anybody here from any of the utilities? I see you. Sorry, that's right. Thank you so much. Can you give our autonomous entities a round of applause? Thank you so much. Governor, we had the distinct privilege of having the bishop here. So when we saw the bishop, we have not only the head of our faith, but we have the head of state. We have the number 2 gentleman in the APIL. That's the Association of Pacific Island Legislators. And so this is really going to be a fruitful discussion. What was supposed to be a round table of 9 to 18 people has really flourished. There's 66 or 60 plus of you here. And I thank you for coming out. It's a wonderful investment in the future. MC, that concludes my remarks. Thank you so much. Sujusmasi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Will Castro. Please welcome for the special message of Honorable Governor Ralph DLG Torres.
Well, good morning, everyone. To our distinguished guests, welcome. To those that's the first time, welcome. Those been back, welcome back. To all of you, I know that we're here for cybersecurity, investment, infrastructure, broadband. But us here in the Marianas, there's more to it than just that infrastructure. What I want to also emphasize on not just the investment on these issues, but the workforce within the Micronesia, within us. I know that we need workforce, and I'm sure Guam does too. And the more we can collaborate with our brothers and sisters throughout Micronesia, the opportunity to come here, opportunity to go to Guam, just opportunity within and your produce, the products that you have. I think that's one thing that we can expand. I know when Senator, our chief, when he was a senator, we worked on the Micronesian working group, and we opened up the free trade for Guam and CNMI. What we did is we came in together, both legislatures, sat down with all the department, and said, what is happening? What laws can be changed so that there's free trade? Any issues when we brought Dr. De La Cruz, our Fish and Wildlife, just the experts to open that trade. And it was such a success that we actually see our cattlemen from Tinian started shipping cattle to Guam. But the working group where you're able to sit down with the entity, address the issue, and come up with a solution. And today, this morning, is a great day for all of us. I've been to probably all the markets except Yap, and I know that every island has something to offer. And the more we collaborate, the better it is for all of us. Because at the end of the day, we want an opportunity for our people. But with us here, with the Blue Ocean, we are one. We just need to continue this collaboration and make sure that we take the follow-up. Because it's always the follow-up that's 90% that we fail. We have good ideas, great implementation, but the follow-up. So, Chief, thank you. To all of our FEMA partners, I want to give a shout out also to our FEMA partners. Can we give a round of applause to our FEMA? Yesterday, I had an opportunity to talk to Peter about broadband. And when you have someone, an expert, you wanna learn as much as you can. But the next question is, what is the follow-up? Where do we go from here? What can we do? What should we do? And for me, I think having a small short-term goal and a long-term goal so that every one of us have accountability on where do we want to go from here. What is our next step? What can we do? What is your challenges? What are the opportunities? So again, thank you for this opportunity to be here, and congratulations to everyone that's participant, and welcome again.
Jesus Masi, Governor, of course, spoken as a true leader with leadership in progress, expecting all our communities to truly deliver when it matters, and that is not only the roadmap, developing it, but the actionable plans moving forward. Thank you, Governor.
Now I would like to welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Brian Beck, FEMA Integration Team Lead. Everyone, please give a round of applause.
Half a day. Good morning, guys. Thank you for having me here. So, just real briefly, I'd like to just introduce myself a little bit. For the past 2 years, I've been deployed as your Operations Division Supervisor for COVID-19 response here in the CNMI, and I am just so grateful to have something to say other than COVID right now. So thank you for that. And today I'll be presenting to you on cybersecurity. One moment, everybody. A little technical difficulty. Thank you. Yes, you may. Go ahead.
With respect to technology?
Great question. Thank you for that. So, actually, the very first of its kind right now, U.S. Treasury has released a grant that FEMA administers, and the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, will provide technical assistance on, and that is the state and local cybersecurity grant program. So that's something that Chief Aldan right now is currently leading a team to develop the presentation for, and we expect to have those funds shortly to develop the first ever CNMI cybersecurity plan. So that's pretty exciting. Okay. All right, thanks, guys. All right, so I'll talk to you about our agenda today. So we're going to discuss the current threat picture right now. We're going to discuss regional engagement efforts on the part of the federal government. I'll tell you a little bit about FEMA Region 9 Continuity Plan, the Cyber Task Force Action Tracker, and then I'll discuss a little bit about a draft concept for staff self-deployment in a no-comms environment. Next slide, please. Okay, so shouldn't come as any surprise to anybody, but over the last several years, we have witnessed an exponential rise in threat vectors and cyber attacks with disruptive and destructive physical consequences. To say that the latest cyber attack threat is a new threat is a misnomer. The current war in Ukraine has created strong opposition to Russia's invasion, leading to trade embargoes and financial sanctions against Russia. Russia has for many years cultivated a cyber warfare capability, and so have several other nations with the intent of evening the playing field against other nations with stronger financial, political, and military capabilities. Dozens of high-profile attacks have been made public in the last decade that show just how dangerous the current cyber threat can be. Next slide, please. So industrial control systems and other supporting information technology which power energy, water, communications, and other critical infrastructure sectors are becoming increasingly interdependent, and attractive as targets. Incidents such as the attack on a dam in Rye Brook, New York in 2013, where bad actors gained control of a dam's floodgate. The black energy malware in Ukraine in 2015, which took out 30 power substations. The Triton malware attack in Saudi Arabia in 2017 disabled safety systems at a petrochemical plant. The dark side malware used against the Colonial Pipeline in 2021 locked their pipeline controls until a ransom was paid, and the near catastrophe at a water treatment plant in Oldsmar, Florida in 2021 have illuminated the capabilities and intent of cyber threat actors. In the previous years of the pandemic, many hospitals across the country were also hit with ransomware attacks, obviously at one of the most inopportune times. And here in the CNMI, we have experienced ransomware attacks on at least one nonprofit entity with disastrous consequences and data loss. Now imagine if CUC or CHCC were targeted. Next slide, please. So what should we do about this? So what I'm going to walk you through right now is basically how FEMA plans on basically putting out lines of effort for a cybersecurity response. You may use these as examples then when you go back to your own jurisdictions and you do your own planning as well. So how should we begin to plan these attacks? Well, real-world incidents, a growing body of intelligence, and resulting presidential policy actions require FEMA to adopt a more concerted approach to strengthening our own readiness and to helping our federal, state, local, tribal, and territorial partners to strengthen theirs. FEMA must take a holistic approach that cuts across all of FEMA's offices and programs to comprehensively leverage the tools we have at our disposal and to make a substantial impact on our agency and the nation's preparedness for this threat. We will evaluate actions we can take that will increase our readiness and long-term resilience, looking both internally at our programs and externally at how we can engage with and support our partner organizations and customers. The continuity of our collective mission and the missions of our partners is one of FEMA's longest standing programs. Working with continuity mission planners, we will hold regular events to update the federal interagency on continuity considerations related to cyber threats as well as our local partners. Our current efforts are being aligned with our guidance from FEMA headquarters that has been passed down through many of our state, tribal, territorial, and local partners as possible. We are also updating our threat hazard identification and risk assessment, or THIRA, as they are addressed in our regional continuity plan, and we are conducting drills and exercises to train, perform, and evaluate the changes to our plans. So as we begin to talk through how we plan for events such as this, FEMA plans along things called lines of effort. So these are our 4 lines of effort that we have basically put in terms of responding to this new increased cybersecurity threat, resulting from the Russian conflict. So consequence management, these are managing physical impacts from cyber incidents. This is where CUC might get disrupted and now we have water problems or basically a total disruption of services due to a cyber issue. Disaster response in a cyber impacted environment. This is another really important one. FEMA does a lot of trainings on, we did trainings during COVID on how do we respond to a typhoon in a COVID environment. Now as we transition away from COVID somewhat, we are now focused on how do we handle cyber responses, let's say, during a typhoon. National level continuity. Continuity in this sense speaks to continuity of government, continuity of essential functions. That's pretty much what the entire plan is for. And FEMA mission essential functions and essential supporting activities are also included. Next slide, please. Okay. So this is an example here of what FEMA has already put out. This continuity plan provides procedures, guidance to facilitate the continuation of FEMA Region 9 essential functions in the event that our regional Oakland office is threatened or impacted by an event, thereby requiring the relocation of selected personnel and functions. The procedures stated in this plan are the same in response to emergencies with or without warning. The identification and prioritization of essential functions are the foundation for all continuity planning. These essential functions are then used to identify supporting tasks and resources that must be included in the organization's continuity planning process. Essential functions must be continued with minimal interruption and are the highest priority during a continuity or devolution event. Essential functions should be established within the first 12 hours. Non-mission essential functions will be deferred until additional personnel time, facilities, and resources become available. So FEMA Region 9 defines these mission essential functions as monitor and evaluate developing events within the FEMA Region 9 area of responsibility, conduct early response and recovery operations, support activation of our Regional Resource Coordination Center and emergency teams, provide a centralized source of information, and process requests from our jurisdictions for federal assistance. And then, of course, to maintain continuity program supporting Region 9 essential functions for up to 30 days or until normal operations are resumed. Next slide, please. Okay. The key objectives of the Regional Continuity Plan focus on maintaining flexibility for managing the consequences of virtually any disaster or situation, maintaining accountability and promoting safety for all Region 9 employees, resume essential functions in the region to support first responders and citizens, restore the regional operations to quote-unquote normal as soon as possible, and to maintain training, testing, and exercise of all important processes and capabilities. Each division within FEMA Region 9 has a separate appendix within the continuity plan containing operational checklists for each division to restart or maintain their respective efforts that support essential functions as well as essential supporting activities. Program management of a cyber consequence management task force in Region 9. Next slide. Okay, thanks. So what you're looking at here is our internal FEMA Region 9 Cyber Task Force Action Tracker. So in coordination with the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, ESF1, Emergency Support Function 1, that's transportation, and other stakeholders, the Region 9 Cybersecurity Task Force was established to evaluate the current threat and make useful changes to our existing all hazards response plan as well as the Region 9 continuity plan. Which, by the way, the all hazards, the OCONUS all hazards response plan is due to our jurisdictions here around the end of January. And that's something that I'll be pushing out to you. We have categorized the actions taken in our region as well as other FEMA regions and have assigned responsibility for action and completion to the various divisions within FEMA Region 9. So I'm not sure how much you can see on this, but the far left column denotes if the action being taken is in alignment with guidance that we have been given by FEMA headquarters. Other columns were added to track the focus of our cyber task force as well as to maintain alignment with the Regional Engagement Memorandum and the FEMA Response Cyber Checklist. This action tracker is what our cyber task force uses at the opening of our weekly meetings to ensure that all lines of effort are being pursued until completion. With regard to the Region 9 continuity plan, these lines of effort are being taken into consideration so that changes to the continuity plan can be approved by the regional administrator. Any changes that require a shift in established practices are being addressed by providing familiarization, training, exercising, and evaluation. Region 9 National Preparedness Exercise Team, along with response and continuity personnel, will remain engaged to fine-tune processes and shift efforts as needed to counteract the ever-changing cyber threat. So what I'm going to show you now is basically a draft concept. This isn't not yet been approved yet by the regional administrator, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about to get you guys thinking as to how you can better prepare within your local agencies. So based on the concept that a cyber attack will likely incapacitate either the communications infrastructure, the power or energy infrastructure, or both simultaneously, we want to provide guidance for Region 9 staff when they have not received any communications or guidance, particularly when communications are compromised for more than 12 hours. So what you're seeing here on the right is a decisional flow chart that's, again, still in draft mode, but should give you an idea as to how do you plan when a cyber incident has affected all of your communication strategy. How do you respond in that environment? Next slide, please. So this self-deployment concept hinges on FEMA staff receiving 0 communications from Region 9 headquarters or FEMA headquarters in Washington, D.C. If communications remain viable and supervisors and leadership can communicate with staff despite the power being compromised, then FEMA staff will not self-deploy. But again, this is a draft concept and not approved by the regional administrator just yet. But hopefully, this gives you some food for thought as your local agencies work with Chief Aldon here as he leads the creation of the CNMI's very first cybersecurity plan. FEMA, CISA, and the whole of Department of Homeland Security is here to support you through it. So on behalf of my colleagues at the Department of Homeland Security, my local partners, I would like to thank you for your time and attention today. My contact information is listed right here. I maintain a home office in Papago, and you can also often find me in the grants office or EOC at HSEM here on Capitol Hill. So please feel free to reach out to me if I can be of any help to you. I'm here for the long term, so don't be shy. I'd now like to turn the podium back over to our MC. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, si Senor Mr. Brian Beck, who's now moved permanently to the Northern Mariana Islands as the permanent attaché from FEMA to the region. Let's give him another round of applause. And also, we'd like to recognize another Micronesian brethren who has arrived safely on his canoe, and none other representing the Association of Pacific Island Legislature as a member of the committees as such. Please give a warm welcome and hafaday tiro to Representative Andrew A. May, Chuk representative at, yes, please stand. Reananim, hafaday. Go ahead, Daryl.
Thank you so much. Everyone, we will now have a 10-minute break. Please drop your card to win a prize. Approach any of the volunteers if you do have any questions. We will start exactly after 10 minutes. Thank you.
We trust everybody is now back, hydrated with local fruit infused Santa Lourdes water from Atsugo. I saw this calendar. How cool is that? Right? I'd like to also, before we reconvene, would like to recognize the presence of our esteemed chairwoman for one of our paramount pillars of our economy, the Commonwealth Ports Authority Board of Directors, the beautiful and intelligent, especially intelligent and athletic colleague in the athlete world for us wannabes, the esteemed chairwoman, attorney Kimberly King-Hines. Half a day. If there's ever going to be a bike-a-thon, I'm gonna excuse myself, and I'll be the water boy. But she truly is, you know, in the races for bikes, race-a-thon. She's amazing. She's amazing. So thank you, welcome from CPA, Chairwoman. And now we will reconvene for the next portion of the engagement discussions. And I will, there's a change in the order of presenters, and I'll have Daryl introduce the speakers, please.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Our next presenter is the Honorable Senator Vinny Sablan. He will be presenting the APIL resolution establishing broadband and task force. Please welcome Honorable Senator Vinny Sablan.
Test. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Atsugo. And I want to just say that I'm a proud resident of this northern side of our island. We're in the northern side of Saipan, so I'd like to welcome all of you to the north. Such a very outstanding chief. Such a classy setup here. I sat up here and I was like, Chief, so who's gonna ask me how do I like my steak, right? But it's so great to be here, and I asked to be pushed up in the agenda so I can present and get back to my Senate legislative duties. But it's a pleasure to be here in this symposium, our tech symposium. I want to thank all the organizers that put all this together. Also thank Cliff and his team for leading the way. Of course, our Secretary of Finance leading the way in advancing our technology capacities in our government. So can we give a round of applause to Cliff and his team, OIT. Also, I want to welcome all the off-island guests that are here joining us. I have my APIO brother right there, Representative Andrew May from Chuk, and all the other IT professionals, business leaders, and our federal partners that are in the room right now. And it's, this room consists of very important people in advancing our technology. And how I look at it, and I'm not going to pretend to understand and speak the lingo of technology. As I was listening to our keynote speaker, I told Chief, I said, I understand every fifth word, and it's technology, right? But What's important is we all have our roles in advancing technology in our society today. So we have our IT professionals, we have our business leaders that are in corporations, CEOs of companies, we have our government leaders, and our federal partners. And the people that are in this room all have a role, a different role, in ensuring that we can advance technology in our Commonwealth and in the jurisdiction that we serve. And if one person cannot perform that role, then it creates a challenge in actually seeing the advancement of technology, right? You know, I have staff that are really tech savvy, and they show me, you know, things on the laptop or whatnot. But my role is to make sure that I push good policy to advance technology, and also to provide funding to our agencies so that they can advance their technology. So that's why I'm here. And I was asked to be here because I just got back from the Association of Pacific Island Legislatures. And this was the General Assembly that was held in Pohnpei. Now, for those of you that don't know what APIL is, the Association of Pacific Island Legislatures is a body that consists of all Micronesian leaders and leaders in the Pacific, senators, representatives, delegates. And in the APIL, each year we meet twice, and we talk about and we bring up regional concerns, regional issues, and ideas that we all share being in this Pacific region. And we sit down and we share our sentiments on what we can do to improve, say, healthcare, our government services. How can we improve our relationship with the federal government? And there was one resolution, and we all introduced resolutions on this table to come up with solutions to the concerns that we bring forth. And I introduced a resolution in the APIL this past month, and it was APIL resolution number 39GA04. You don't have it in front of you, but I will email it to Chief and his staff and the organizers, so that if you're interested in seeing what it's all about, just ask them and they'll send you an email. But I want to just read portions of the whereas clauses and why I felt that it was important for us, for me, representing the CNMI, to bring up this issue, to bring up this topic, and see how we can improve our capabilities in expanding broadband. So APIO resolution number 39GA04 is titled "To respectfully encourage APIO member entities to establish a broadband task force to explore broadband equity for the underserved and unserved communities of the Blue Continent." In APIL, they call the Pacific region and all the Pacific Islands the Blue Continent, as we're surrounded, of course, by, you know, ocean. But if you've been to Micronesia, and also we go through the challenges here, we do have a challenge with connectivity. We do have a challenge with broadband. And that's the base concern of what we're all trying to do in advancing in cybersecurity. Our Secretary of Finance and OIT director, just rolled out in the past year a new system in Munis. But if we don't improve our connectivity and broadband capabilities, it creates a challenge to bring forth other technological capabilities and other programs to roll forth, so that we can provide assistance to both our customers, if you're in the private sector, and to our community, if you're a government and you provide services to your people. So I'm going to read just several of the whereas clauses And I'm sorry I don't have a PowerPoint for you to look at. So every table has one of the resolution, but I'm just going to read off some of the whereas clauses. Whereas technological advances greatly influence and impact broadband access, critical to the modern day participation for societies worldwide. Whereas despite the advancement in technology, there lies a significant limitation imposed in underserved and unserved communities. Whereas the unforeseen impacts of COVID-19, of course, and if you're from the Marianas, the storms, has greatly shifted the norm of modern day activities, resulting in an increased dependence to connect remotely for the purpose of obtaining an education, building careers, social interactions, and access to health care. And the main reason that I introduced this resolution to the APIL and to the leaders of Micronesian Islands and the Pacific Islands was the reliance on telehealth services and providers have increased tremendously in recent years through the use of digital information and communication technologies to provide access and to offer preventative healthcare services and manage an individual's health remotely. So this was the main reason. And the concern I brought up to the table and the issue that I brought up to the table that is consistent with all our Micronesian islands and many of the Pacific Island jurisdictions is the limited access to health care. And if you don't know, I'm going to bring up our medical referral program. The CNMI spends about an average of $17 million sending off our community members to get critical health care in other places like Hawaii, Los Angeles, and San Diego. And it was my desire to bring this up and to find a way to improve our healthcare access to our people here in the CNMI. And I'm gonna, I told the members of the APIL that, I wanted to be honest with everybody and say that, we have to understand that it's tough for us to compete with other jurisdictions and how much we can pay our healthcare professionals. What kind of technology and equipment and all the technology in the hospital, what kind of technology do we have? These were things that I thought that was an issue and a concern, and we needed to find a solution to improve the healthcare in our Micronesia. So one way was to create a task force, and I'm going to put Cliff on that task force when we start rolling things out so that you can represent the CNMI in meeting with these other, these other IT professionals from the other jurisdictions. If we improve our broadband connectivity, we can bring in effective and access telehealth. And that's going to be very, very significant for the people of the CNMI. It's going to be significant to bring down the cost in what we expend in sending our patients out to get medical care. So this was the main reason why I introduced this resolution. The theme of the APIL General Assembly meeting was Health is Wealth. And we all brought up ideas on how to improve that, and this was the idea that we brought here from the CNMI. So again, if you would like a copy of that to hopefully maybe pitch in some advice, give your feedback to Chief right here, and he'll communicate it with me to how we could move forward and lay out the improvement of our broadband and connectivity to the underserved and unserved areas here in Micronesia. Before I close, we did receive the American Rescue Plan Act monies that was rolled out in U.S. Congress and the United States. And for the CNMI, 11 million was set forth for broadband infrastructure. And
correct my numbers if they're wrong, Secretary. But I got these numbers from you. So, and just for just for dialogue and communication, we had 22 million set aside for improving our water system here in the CNMI, 10 million for e-government and cybersecurity, and 37.7 million for sewer system upgrades. And this is just to mention a few. But all these projects with millions of dollars that have been set aside to complete these projects, all of these projects are directly linked to good broadband and good connectivity and technology. We cannot succeed in bringing these programs forward or these projects forward if we don't fix the base of what's going to bring these projects to fruition. So with that, I just want to say thank you again for having me. I just wanted to bring that topic up for discussion later in the day, and as we start dialoguing with each other. But I want to thank everyone for being here, all the stakeholders, our federal partners, our government agencies, our IT professionals, our business leaders, for being here and being each other's resource, because that's what we're going to take away from this symposium, is we're going to build a capacity and we're going to build a resource. And all of us are each other's resource. And once again, we all have a different role in ensuring that we could advance technology in the jurisdictions that we serve. So I want to say thank you for having me. Please excuse me for the day. I must get back to the chamber and get back to my Senate business. But I want to congratulate everybody for a successful tech symposium, and I wish you all well. And please enjoy yourselves here in Saipan. Thank you.
Si Zeus Masi Talata na pagpaki, si Senator, Floor Leader, Honorable Vinny Sablan. Truly, what example he has mentioned about telehealth, teledentistry is going to be, I'm sure, earth-shattering in terms of productive benefit for our people. Why? Because we are remote. And the resources that are otherwise available in these developed, metropolitan, advanced countries are not readily available for us. So any effort to augment and to defray the costs, the rising exorbitant costs of healthcare. He mentioned $17 million to send our people who are sick for medical no referral abroad. If we can break that opportunity to bring that to us, to augment more power with respect to productive benefit of technology in our remote region. Darryl?
Thank you so much. Our next speaker, I would like to welcome Peter Dressler for his topic of broadband. Peter Dressler is Senior Advisor, Broadband and Digital Equity with the CNMI Office of Planning Development. In this role, Peter helps design and execute the Commonwealth's internet and broadband-related programming, assists with funding pursuit, and advises other government agencies and departments on CNMI internet strategy. Prior to working in this role, Peter was the Territory Broadband Coordinator for American Samoa. He continues to be active in policy and implementation issues for internet and digital equity throughout the Pacific territories and freely associated states. Everyone, please welcome Peter Dressler.
Hey, hi. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but we had a tough health week at the OPD, and just want to say we're thinking about the families of Manny Camacho and Director Kodep Ogumor. Manny himself and his family, and the director, for the director to not be here today is just kind of tells you where that's at. So we're thinking about them. Sorry, I'm terrible. terrible at weddings and bar mitzvahs for this reason, but I apologize for that. But they're both going through some stuff health-wise and their families, and I just want to acknowledge Manny and Director Kodup. Sorry. All right, so I do have a speech, and I think there are some slides. And I just want to mention before I drop into the words or that I have written, which I will probably have to stick to my script, but I do want to mention the Association of Pacific Island Legislatures, stuff that we just heard about. I think I lost our senator, but terrific example of the kind of cooperation we can have with those other groups of political groups is coordinating on topics in broadband. And I couldn't be more excited about our current efforts in terms of cooperating with our other Pacific territories. I see Frank Lujan over there, but Director Kodup also has been a terrific proponent of how can we coordinate with our other islands of getting solutions that are region-wide. It's crazy not to try that, of course. Broadband-related solutions that I think in the year to come we'll truly start to see the fruit of that cooperation and effort. So I'm actually, I think this is super cool. It's a big deal that we have resolution coming. All right, now we'll drop into the speech. But again, for real, thinking about Manny and Director Kodup. So as the announcer mentioned, I'm with the Office of Planning and Development, and we have our broadband objectives. I want to mention also that we have goals than broadband, and those include goals for digital equity and digital inclusion. And I'll talk a little bit about those goals here in a second on our next slide, starting on our next slide. So what is broadband? When I had our team, some of whom are younger than me in our office, put this slide together, we have an AOL. Some of you may be aware of what AOL is, but decreasingly people have experienced the little dial tone and everything. That is not broadband, but that's probably not a surprise. There are other slow-speed broadband, I'm way off my speech. There are other slow-speed technologies that are actually currently on the islands of Saipan, Tinian, and Rota that are also maybe broadband or not quite broadband. They're delivering speeds under that which we would consider broadband-related speed or broadband qualifying speeds. So if we're talking about download speeds of like single digits, 5 megabits per second, or even 15 megabits per second, according to Congress and according to all the current legislation, that's not broadband either. So that's of course the dial tone thing, that's not broadband, but some of the things that we're working with today are also not broadband, or at least not what we would call qualifying broadband. So that isn't broadband, but the middle picture might surprise you a little bit more. That's a phone. Now, a phone, a smartphone, I think nearly everyone in here has one with them. That can certainly connect to a broadband connection, but we don't consider that broadband, especially when we talk about the sort of the core meaning of broadband, and that is nearly always on and available in a continuous, uninterrupted fashion. So the disqualifying feature of a phone would be if I drive around, it jumps from cell tower to cell tower, or if I'm on the right place on Middle Road, it just drops altogether. So that isn't really broadband, even though we can connect our phone. And that's important when we talk about stuff like 5G service from again, sort of federal level perspective. That isn't exactly broadband, right? And that's an important distinction. Generally speaking, a good way to think of broadband is, so we have a little Wi-Fi box right there in our last picture, and think about everything that gets from that Wi-Fi box all the way back to the main trunk of the internet. So connections, fiber cables, switches, the software that drives that, that's all broadband. So hopefully that's a helpful definition. When you hear broadband, broadband is internet. It's a kind of internet that's fast and always on. I guess next slide. Okay, so what programs are we going to work on to bring broadband to all the people of the CNMI, of Saipan, Tinian, and Rota? Well, we do have a sustainable development goal to bring broadband to every resident, or bring internet access to every resident of the CNMI by 2030. But, and actually, I learned this the first day I was on Saipan, and actually Manny Camacho was driving me around. We know that not every resident has a house. Not every resident has an apartment. Not every resident has a place where they can constructively use broadband to get work done, to fill out a job application, to access benefits on a website. And so that's where our Community Pillars program comes from. When we think about our Community Pillars program, it's all about building new spaces and places where any resident in any economic condition, any housing condition, can comfortably access and use the internet in their everyday lives. To accomplish, we're partnering with over a dozen community agencies and institutions. This is the first time I've seen the logos. So these are some of the logos that are the institutions that we're partnering on Community Pillars. And these are the institutions that we find know best the conditions of their neighborhoods and the conditions of the communities that they serve. So as you look at this list of partners, and hopefully you can see some of the logos, Community Pillars, imagine improvements where you have free wireless internet at a youth center, at a basketball court, at a soccer field. Thinking about Culverville right now. Imagine just having Wi-Fi in a pavilion at one of those centers. All the way up to imagine a high-tech conference facility available to the public and the college students at one of our college campuses. Every possibility in between those two things. All about, again, spaces and places for people to access and use constructively the internet. So Community Pillars has been a multi-stage process, starting with outreach to over 30 institutions 6 months ago, and culminating in an awards committee meeting this week. I hope to see Chief Will there on Saturday with 9 finalists. It's going to be terrific. So we're going to have 9 presentations on projects for those spaces and places for internet from all over Saipan and Tinian and Rota. The bottom line is, with those Community Pillars projects, some of them are quite ambitious and will take until 2026, but we will begin to see tangible improvements in terms of the places that people can go and access internet on all 3 islands, starting hopefully this time next year. Not hopefully, we're just going to do it. Slide. For those of our residents that do take advantage of the internet in their homes, we know that there's also a little bit of a problem with internet to the homes. It's real expensive, like super expensive. Also true on Guam. So I know that's not news to anyone in this room, but what you might not know is we've done OPD, and the broadband team has done this year to find that on average, our internet is not just expensive, but between 5 to 8 times what residential customers on the mainland pay for internet. So we're not talking about $7, $8 boxes of cereal. We're talking about $40, $50 boxes of cereal. So we're used to the 7 or 8, but this is something else altogether. So one way we can make a difference today high costs is by making sure that households are taking advantage of federal subsidies already available for people in need. And that's why, as part of our outreach programs, we made a push this year through the anchor institutions directly with our network service providers to promote the availability of the Affordable Connectivity Program from the Federal Communications Commission. That program, ACP for short, provides a coupon of $30 a month to qualifying households to connect to the internet. Now, I'm excited to say that's a federal program. 6 months ago when we started outreach, we were at 2,000 households. Today we are at 3,500 households that are using that. I believe that's a 75%, check my math panel. So that's a 75% rise in connected households. That number, 3,500 households, even though we the largest number of total households, is the largest number outside of the largest number of any territory outside of Puerto Rico. So that's a good thing. That subsidy, $30, is not enough. We need more. And the really good news is we can get more. One way to increase the ACP one way to do that is to increase that ACP subsidy amount. And we believe that's possible on last year's bipartisan infrastructure law. To drive that increase in funding, we have actually partnered with Guam and American Samoa in writing a letter. It's a pretty cool situation. We have letters from all three governors that will be sent into both the Federal Communications Commission and the National Communications and Information Agency, or NTIA, to take action and increase the subsidy. We believe that from a statutory perspective, we're owed that, as any of the Pacific territories would be. But we're being nice and just sending letters right now, and we'll wait until next year to get litigious about it. Though we will. So the next slide. Of course, in the long run, we need to, there's a digital equity person in Detroit who, like every third phone call, we're on national phone calls all the time. And this guy has coined the phrase, we can't coupon our way to internet for all. And that's right. We can't just work with coupons for eternity and get internet for all people. So in the long run, we need to do more to rely, or we need to do more than just rely on those coupons to achieve internet affordability, especially when we consider our businesses and institutions who are paying even more for internet than our residential customers on a per megabit per second basis. So our businesses and institutions, even though they have stronger buying power, pay more per megabit. That's not normal. Usually when you buy in bulk, you get a better deal. So our analysis, and we have put some formal analysis into pricing at OPD this year, into that situation, and what we've determined, at least in part, these prices are a result of poor competition, or in some cases, not just no competition in certain situations. So as you may be aware, last year's Infrastructure Act includes significant funding for the Northern Marianas for investment in broadband networks and systems that serve the people here. Our infrastructure funding earmarked explicitly for these types of networks represents a once-in-a-generation opportunity, maybe once in more than a generation opportunity. But to take full opportunity of this situation, we need a network service that is actually headquartered here in the CNMI and beholden to the rule of law here, beholden to the regulatory capabilities here, beholden to the people here. OPD takes this important moment to heart, and we're working to study the possibility of creating the CNMI's very first municipal broadband provider. In fact, right now we're in talks with potential local partners, smiling at a few of them, and we're working on figuring out the plan that would make the most sense to help us achieve that lofty goal. We're also evaluating substantial 8-figure potential additional federal funding opportunities that would be unlocked by working with a local municipal partner. And some of those are just would be unlocking in terms of whether or not we can get this done. We're surveying the marketplace of the Pacific to better understand the possibilities of working with connecting networks and systems. And quite critically, we're building an action plan that will allow us to maximize the impact, get every shred of value we can out of the federal investment in infrastructure that, again, is a once in a lifetime, or at least my lifetime, I'm old, a once in a lifetime opportunity. We're aware of the challenge ahead of us in building a municipal internet provider, but we won't be doing it alone. We'll have federal partners, we'll have territory partners, we'll have partners all throughout the region. Other regional partners actually have municipal broadband partners today, as the secretary pointed out yesterday. And so it isn't rocket science. This isn't something that we would building with no other models out there. The bottom line is, Governor Torres pointed out, this is exactly the type of opportunity that the broadband infrastructure law was designed for, is taking control of our internet. Next slide. Before we move on, I just want to call out one more branch of our current, one more branch of our current and upcoming programming, and that's our digital equity programming plan for 2023 and beyond. We think of digital equity is basically the human side. You know, I've been talking about some technological stuff, but digital equity is the human side of the work that we do. And honestly, we can build the most impressive and affordable network of any Pacific community, but it won't mean anything if we don't also invest in making sure that residents here have the access and the skills and the opportunities that a connected society can provide. So leveraging additional dedicated resources from federal and regional partners, significant additional resources, we'll look to engage on programs helping to provide digital literacy workshops, resource centers for online and remote learning, telemedicine capabilities. Just added that in because I was looking at Chief Bell. Specialized equipment and assistance for populations with specific and special needs. Capacity building, boy, that is a huge topic, right? Capacity building and technology-related careers for local businesses and government. And we would especially like to help support programming for youth and young people, young at heart people, with interest in entrepreneurship and online work. And of course, we'll seek to further support our community anchor institutions. Something that we're looking at right now is how do we get a second round of community pillars, taking advantage of the work that we've done so far, but also leveraging feedback and improvements from the first round. Next slide. And so finally, so that was okay, sure. So that was 4 programs that are all underway. There are other programs as well, and they're designed to bring us closer to achieving our sustainable development goals for broadband. In fact, we're proposing additional goals as we engage every day with our community and our partners. Some of these new goals are really broad. Some of the goals are totally narrow, totally technical, and would bore you. But one I would especially like to call out today is a new CNMI goal that we've already authored at the OPD and will be working to ratify. And that CNMI goal is for internet independence. This idea comes from the fact that today nearly 100%, I don't know if this is a well-known fact, effectively 100% of the internet that comes into the Northern Marianas today is served by undersea cables that land through Guam. And Guam, of course, are good partners, but we can better assure that our network access is controlled in ways that are appropriate to the people living here by creating new points of access that are not dependent only on landing cables through Guam. And by doing that, incidentally, we'll become a better partner to Guam by serving as part of a loop rather than a stub or a spoke on a network. So we want to strive to achieve this internet independence for the CNMI by the year 2030. Now, that's 2030 is a long time away, but this is actually, that's pretty fast in terms of this goal. Nonetheless, we believe that with our vision of building municipal broadband capability, investing our community anchor institutions, the digital equity of our community, and continuing to leverage the power of partnerships, including the partnerships here in this room. Totally. Internet independence is a goal that the CNMI absolutely should and can strive for 2030. That's all my slides. Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Office of Planning and Development, Mr. Peter Dressler, the Senior Broadband Advisor, we are excited and, of course, are anticipating the roadmap of the studies and the hearings and the interactions you're having, the Office of OPD is having with Luta, Tinian, and Saipan, and of course, eventually the Northern Frontier with respect to achieving CNMI internet independence. We're excited about that opportunity only because it's going to amplify and complement and really just bring the entire region forward as a working group, not only for the Marianas, but hopefully keeping Micronesia, our brethren, in the loop as well. Thank you. Jesus Masi.
Thank you. We are now about to begin our 15-minute private-public partnership working session. And so, if you guys could please present the questions. So, during this time, please take a few moments to answer these questions amongst each other. Our staff will go around in a few minutes to collect your response. So the questions are, how can we expand our broadband with minimal costs? And the second question is your current internet capability sufficient for your needs? Again, this will be a 15-minute interview, a 15-minute work session, and then it will be followed up by a 15-minute break. Please, you may now begin.
And also, we just want to remind everybody, thank you. Let's give a shout out to the Northern Marianas College IT department for their awesome, relentless contribution in live streaming our tech summit as its latest project, augmenting our expansive global reach for our residents abroad, and of course our residents here who are unable to personally attend face-to-face. Jesus Masi. And of course, thank you to our ISP private vendors, ITNE and Docomo. Welcome. Okay, you can't talk because.
begun. Please take your time to go out, stretch your legs, and take some refreshments. Thank you. A quick reminder for the audience, we do have badges for all of the participants. So if you do not have any of your badges, please do go to the reception and get your badge. Thank you so much. everyone's doing their break. We are going to be starting back to our program in 3 minutes. So please take your seats and finish up whatever you are conversating about. We will resume our program in 1 minute. Everyone, please start getting back to your seats as we move through with this event. hope everyone enjoyed their wonderful break. I would just like to remind everyone that we do have raffle prizes. And so if you have your business cards, we do have you can submit your or give your business cards to the reception, and they will add you to the raffle. So some of the raffle prizes is a STX Seagate portable drive, power banks, a professional monitor, headphones, and so much more. So if you would like to attain one of these prizes, please do give your business cards to the reception. Thank you so much. As we settle, we are going to be moving on with our program. So if everyone could just have their seat, and so we can settle back into this momentous occasion.
I,
Our next speaker, who is going to be presenting with the topic of cybersecurity, his name is Brandon Montaigne. He is a senior program specialist for the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center and the Elections Infrastructure Informing, Sharing, and Analyze Center. He is a member of stakeholder engagement team providing U.S. state, local, territorial, and tribal governments with free cybersecurity resources and services to strengthen their cybersecurity posture. So if you guys would like to see a better picture of the presenters, please do look at the magazine that you have. But I would like to call up Brandon Montaigne once again for his part of the presentation. Can we please welcome him with a round of applause?
Thank you so much. Okay, this is on, just checking. I first want to say thank you all for having me out here. It's been an absolute pleasure. I am from New York State, so coming quite a long ways. I recently moved to Colorado, and then being able to come out here has been an absolute experience. You all have a beautiful island. You're all extremely friendly, way different than what I'm used to in New York. And for those of you who have been to New York, you know what I'm talking about. Everybody is in their own lane. Everybody is so focused on what they're doing. Coming out here to Saipan and seeing the community that you all have has just been eye-opening to myself, and something that I want to try and bring back home, not just to myself, my family, my friends, but also the organization that I work with, and my community as well. So you really all are leaders in this space, and I'm going to try and scare you all a little bit thinking about cybersecurity, especially as we start talking about the increase in broadband and the increase in internet connectivity. These threats are only going to become more and more prevalent. Right now, they might not seem like they are impacting the islands. A lot of people have the mindset that we are too small, we're too small of an organization, but I can tell you without a doubt, those are the organizations that are facing these threats more than anybody else. The state of California, the state of New York, the huge Los Angeles counties, those ones aren't always the organizations that get hit with cyber incidents. They're oftentimes the school district in Helena, Montana, that has one IT staff who's also the bus driver and also the janitor. That is a true story. That was my first work trip ever. That was an individual that I met. So if our organization can help that individual, we can help everybody else in this room. And the threats that are happening are real, unfortunately, and they're only getting worse and worse. So on the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about my organization, what we do, our partnership with CNMI, with Guam, the other territories as well. So we are the MS-ISAC, or the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center. It's really long, so that's why we use acronyms. We are not the federal government, but we are actually funded by the federal government. So where they use acronyms for everything, we follow suit and use just as many acronyms, if not more. So if I mention an acronym today and I don't explain what it is, throw something at me. I'm used to it. It's okay. But just know. So we started in 2004 working with state governments exclusively. And then in about 2006, we expanded that to everybody else underneath state governments. So that includes local governments, tribal governments, and of course, territorial governments as well. We are mutually inclusive of everybody. So luckily, with working with Chief Aldan and the entire CNMI government, we've been able to spread our mission throughout the islands and being able to spread it to the Pacific as well as continental US as well. So it's been a challenge for us, but we're doing our best to get out here. Thankfully, COVID is, I don't want to say over, but it's dwindling away and we're actually able to travel. We've only been traveling again for about 6 months. So being able to get out here has been absolutely incredible. It's been an awesome experience and I just want to thank you all again for having me, of course. So on the next slide, please. We're going to get into why this is important, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the actual threats that are happening. So I want to say this is a huge month for us. October is actually Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and this is the first year ever that we got all 50 state governments and all 6 territories to sign off on the proclamation recognizing October as Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So shout out to Cliff. Shout out to Frank. Thank you for helping us get this done in CNMI. We couldn't have done it without you guys. It has to come from a local resident. So we, as the MSISAC, can't just come in and say, hey, Governor, we need you to sign this piece of paper that says October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We need somebody from here to recognize that as well. And this is the first year we've ever been able to do it in all 56 states and territories. So next slide. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happening. This is where all the bad stuff starts to come in. It might get a little bit scary because it's your data, it's your information, it's your money. But these screenshots took me all of 30 seconds to find online. You can Google your hometown, your island, the Pacific, the United States, and just look up cyber incident. And you'll see a whole lot more articles than what I've shared today. I work exclusively, or not exclusively, but mainly with a lot of schools. So a lot of the articles that I always like to pull up are impacting school districts around the country. Some of these are larger. Obviously, Buffalo School District in New York State is huge. They're getting hit with a $10 million ransom. Now, that scope of a ransomware incident might not be happening here, but you have students, you have student data information, you have social security numbers. Your students are going to want to go to college one day. What happens when they turn 18 and they apply for college, but the security number was stolen when they were 10 years old? They might get rejected. What happens if they want to buy a house or open up a credit card and their credit score has been used by a threat actor for the last 8 years to open up fraudulent bank accounts, to steal money from them that is ever so important? So these are happening. And then it's happening in the territories as well. I didn't use any incidents from CNMI or from Guam, but they do happen. I'm sure you can ask Frank and Clifford as well. They might be willing to share some of the stuff that's happening, but I didn't want to bring any of that up. But it's happening in Puerto Rico. A lot of people look at Puerto Rico as one of the larger territories, you know, a little bit more secure, you would assume, but they're not either. And it's election season. And elections infrastructure is being targeted more now than ever with disinformation, misinformation, and just trying to attack our voters and show that our election systems are not secure. But that's what we're trying to help, and that's what we're trying to protect. So where do these threats come from? So on the next slide, I'm going to start talking about social engineering and the human element of cybersecurity, because that is what happens more than Russia trying to hack it. So Brian earlier today talked about the Russia-Ukraine involvement right now and why that is increasing cyber threats. But that's the macro view of cybersecurity. That's the really big bad. Those are the nation state actors, but that's not all of it, unfortunately. We get phishing emails almost every single day. Some of you might be seeing them as well. We were actually talking about Instagram accounts being hacked, Facebook accounts being hacked. These are what threat actors are utilizing now to target individuals. It's not necessarily the Nigerian prince who's offering to send you $50,000. You just have to send them $5,000 first. Those days are done. They retired off of my parents and the previous generation, and now it's all social engineering. So what is social engineering? These are more passive attacks. They're trying to get to know who you are. Where do you work? What's your family like? Do you have friends? Where did you go to school? What sport did you play? Or the common security question of what's your dog's name? You know, they're learning who we are. They're learning our holidays, our traditions, and everything like that. And they're using that to gain trust. And then all of a sudden, one individual accidentally clicks on a link in Facebook and they lose access to their Facebook account. Now, all of their hundreds of friends that they might be friends with on Facebook, they just got a message from Brendan saying, hey, I have Bitcoin. I can give you $50,000. And all you have to do is click on the link, join this community, and do these steps, and it's super easy. If it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. That's something that, you know, we always try and push, is if it looks funny, if it looks a little bit suspicious, take a second guess. And so that is what social engineering is. These are coming in the form of phishing. We've now upped it to smishing and vishing as well, where you might be getting a text message from your friend, or what might look like it's coming from your friend, saying, hey, look at this funny video that I just watched. You know, look at TikTok, look at Facebook, look at Instagram, all these videos that I want to send to you. But if it doesn't sound like it's coming from the person that you know, from your friend that you've known since the first grade, maybe take a second step, maybe pick up the phone and call them, or just actually reach out to them directly and say, hey, did you send me this video? And if not, delete it, move on with it, and take some additional steps. So on the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit more about phishing, what it is, and kind of go through this really quickly. I forgot to mention that I'm from New York, so I do talk pretty fast, so I apologize in advance. I also have a lot of slides, so I might skip over some. This one might be one of those because I talked about phishing. But has anybody in here gotten a phishing email? Or an email that you are just not sure about? Yep. And everybody else, you're probably just not paying attention to what I'm saying. And that's okay. But phishing emails happen all the time. Our email servers do a pretty decent job of blocking a lot of them, but they still make it through. We still get phishing emails every single day, and they are really, really good. And on the next slide, I actually have an example of one of those. Apologies, it's a little bit hard to read, but this was an email that we actually got at my organization. So what they're starting to do, these threat actors, they're starting to look like a trusted source. So the story I always tell is when I started, I worked with this individual, Stephen Spano. He was a Marine. He was a very blunt, very to-the-point individual. And I got an email from him one day, and it said, Dear Sir Brendan Montaigne, red flag. He would never address an email like that. And this was when I worked in finance. And the email said something along the lines of, hey, I need you to change this bank routing information over to this one for this new PO of a company that we're signing into a contract with. Thank you, Sir Stephen Spano. That email alone had about 12 red flags. One, he does not know what we do in finance. He did not know what partners we had. He was all the way at the top dealing with everything else. Two, he would never call me Sir Brendan Montaigne. I don't even know if he knew my name outside of Brendan, the intern in finance. And three, he signed off every single email with SJS. That was his email signature. So when I saw those red flags, I knew that there was something wrong. Those emails are shifting a little bit. They're trying to create this sense of urgency. They're trying to make you react really quickly, react today. And those threats are happening all the time. So as you can see in this one, by close of business today. We need this done absolutely right now. You may have gotten this email at 3 p.m. and you want to get out the door by 5. You want to do your job and get it done immediately. So you click on that link. That's not actually harassment training. You just clicked on a link going to a malicious website. You gave your credentials to a threat actor. They are now able to navigate through your network, maybe log into your banking information, or utilize your passwords for something else. So that's one other thing that we talk all the time is don't reuse the same passwords. I started in cybersecurity about 5 years ago, so I'm by no means an expert, but 5 years ago, I used the same password for every single login that I had. And a lot of people still do it today. I would get fired if I did that, unfortunately and fortunately, but it has forced me into, creating stronger passwords, creating a more secure lifestyle for myself. And then when I see stuff like this that tells me I need to do something right now, I pause. There's almost nothing that we need to do absolutely right now. So on the next two, talk about some of, I didn't realize I included a second one. So this is basically the breakdown of what I just talked about. So highlighting some of the things that threat actors are pointing out. All of the red on this box, if anybody would like to take a picture, it's probably what I just mentioned. So we'll jump over to the next slide as well. So these threats are increasing every single day. When I started 5 years ago, it was pretty commonplace for threat actors to strictly go after money. All they wanted was money and information. That's it. They weren't really targeting schools. They weren't messing with people's lives. They weren't going after our children. Now, they're going after our hospitals. They're going after public water. They're going after our resources that keep us alive every single day. These threat actors, frankly, don't care anymore. They're ruthless. They're after anything that they can get their hands on because at the end of the day, it creates that sense of urgency. So when our hospitals are hit and they lose power, we have to act immediately because people's lives are in danger. So I only really want to point out a couple things here. Most of it is on the next slide, but 77% of cyber incidents that we notice come from social engineering. So humans are the biggest factor in cybersecurity. So Clifford is doing an awesome job. He's trying to bolster the cybersecurity posture of CNMI. Frank is doing the same thing, working with us as well. But at the end of the day, it's what all of you do as well. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we get later on in the presentation. But hopefully what I talk about today makes that number drop from 77 even to 75. If I can help 2% of people in this room, I succeeded in my job. I got some of you thinking about cybersecurity because internet connectivity is happening. Like, where'd he go? Like Peter said, by 2030, the goal is to have all of CNMI connected, to have everybody have access to internet access. And the more people that have access to the internet means more people who are vulnerable to all these cyber threats. And what cyber threat actors are doing is they are targeting the quote unquote low hanging fruit, or the folks that are just getting into internet, just starting to use the Internet of Things and just getting connected using online banking and not realizing that the password that you use on Facebook shouldn't be the same password that you use to log into your bank. Facebook, if you want, it's not the most important thing in the world. Let it be an easy password. You need to remember it all the time. Your bank, maybe make it a little bit more secure. Care about it more because that's what's going to make sure that you can live tomorrow. So on the next slide, we have a little bit more of this type of information, but I really only want to talk about the third bullet on there, and that is the 7 targeted industries. So number 1 is still money. Everybody cares about money. They want to get their hands on our money. They want to steal it from us. It's an easy avenue or business stream for these threat actors because they don't really think what they're doing is wrong. If you watch anything online about threat actors, they just see it as a business opportunity. You'll probably get the best customer service if you ever hit with ransomware. And that's unfortunately true. I've dealt with some really poor customer service, and I've dealt with some really good ones. And if you ever are dealing with a cyber threat actor, you'll probably deal with the best, control all of the money and what they have you need. So they're going to make sure that they're available for you. and then they're going to take your money. They're going to pay ransom. They're going to use Bitcoin, some type of other form of payment to get that money without a trace. So on the next, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the impacts of ransomware. I already talked about this a little bit. Of course, when they are attacking our critical systems, human life is in danger. That's the one thing I don't have on this slide because it's not really something that I'm talking about. When I started, it was a little bit better that they were really just after money and information, and that is painful. People's lives weren't at risk, but now they're targeting healthcare. They're targeting our hospitals, our public water, like I mentioned. But these are some of the other impacts. Network downtime. So as the internet is growing and as we're all getting a little bit more connected, we're all getting more and more dependent on the internet and on technology. When that goes down for an hour, when it goes down for a week, your life is going to change a little bit. But that's not the only thing. Our schools, when they're targeted. We met with NMC yesterday, hoping to meet with our K-12 folks that are in the room as well. But what happens when your school gets hit with ransomware and students aren't able to access their learning? For COVID, for 2 years, we all had to go remote, so we were forced to do some online learning, do some hybrid learning, and a lot of us are still doing that. If we get hit with ransomware, our students are out of school for a week. Now, of course, add that with all of the physical threats that are happening to our schools. We don't have the amount of time to just let students be out of school for a week. So we need to pay attention to this information and to these threat actors to make sure that that doesn't happen, because our kids are what's going to be the next workforce. The kids are the future of everything that we do. So that's why I always have a long focus with school districts, of course. And then lastly, they're just looking for that sensitive information. Threat actors are targeting students, but they're also targeting our elderly as well. Anybody who's on Social Security at this point, you're probably getting a bigger target on your back because you're an easier target. So it's not always the folks around my age who work in technology, who I'm connected to the internet almost 24/7. I always have my cell phone on me. It's always connected, unfortunately. And we just can't disconnect, but it's the folks that are only going on to get their check. They're only going on to check their banking information, and those individuals are being impacted as well. So what can we do about it? This is all the big bad. This is everything that's terrible with the world because it's happening, and hopefully I'm not scaring everybody away from the new internet connectivity that we were talking about earlier today, because it's not all bad. It's not impossible. On the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about what organizations can do, what Clifford's with all of CNMI, but what individuals can do as well. He and I work together all the time. We talk about what the government can do and what the technical staff in IT already kind of know what they should be doing. But what can you as an individual do? Number one, my biggest recommendation is stop and think. When you get a text message from an unknown number, when you get a Facebook message from your friend offering Bitcoin, just pause for 1 second and think about what you're receiving, because it's probably not true. If it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. Those phishing emails, start recognizing what they look like. Again, if the sender doesn't look like somebody that you're used to getting an email from, pause, click on the sender. That's always a big tell. I get phishing emails to my personal inbox all the time, not as much to my work because we have some extras in place, but I get them all the time to my Gmail account. And when I get them, I click on the sender, and when it says it's from cj7481273@gmail.com, that's probably not a real email. So I'll just delete that, move on with my life, and not click on anything that came from them. And then everything else on the right, I'll have these folks take a look at. Anybody else in IT, these are some of the steps that you guys can be taking to help your citizens, to help all of your employees as well. Multi-factor authentication, strong passwords, pretty much everything else here is for you guys. So on the next slide, we're going to talk about what we do. I'm not up here to talk about the MSISAC. I was really up here to talk about cybersecurity, the risks, everything that's happening. But I do want to pause for a moment to talk about my organization does. And the best part is every single thing that you see on here, minus the discounts on training, is completely free. We are funded by the Department of Homeland Security, by the Cybersecurity Information Security Agency, or CISA. So they provide all of our funding. So we do have funding behind all of these services. A lot of people see all this stuff and they say, oh, it's free. That means it's open source and that it's probably not great. But that's not true. We do have funding behind every single thing that we do. And our services are pretty awesome. Both CNMI and Guam are using a lot of our services. Puerto Rico just signed a huge contract with us to utilize more services as well. So take a screenshot of this. If anybody's interested, yes, there is a link on the screen. But more importantly, reach out to me. I'm the account manager for CNMI, for Guam, for all of the Pacific region. And I'm happy to help. Our time zones don't always line up, but I'm happy to work later in the day or start my day at 6 o'clock in the morning if that means that works for you. So next slide, I'm going to talk about one, our Security Operations Center. I forgot I added this slide because this is probably the most important thing. If anybody in here is ever experiencing a cyber incident and you are in the public sector, you can reach out to us. It doesn't matter if you're a member of our organization. It doesn't matter if you've never talked to us a single time previously. You have the ability to reach out to our SOC 24/7, 365 for anything. If you get a phishing email and you want a second set of eyes on it, call our SOC. If you're experiencing a cyber incident and you need some assistance, call our SOC. If you want to talk about your printer being out of printer paper, don't call our SOC. We're not here for that, as much as we would like to be. But our SOC is a lifeline for you. We don't have to be the first organization we call, but let us be part of your incident response plan. So next, I'm going to talk about an initiative that Cliff and I have been going back and forth on and that we want everybody in here to do. And I use this chart to kind of be like your steps for getting better in cybersecurity. And the one that I have underlined is complete a self-assessment. So on the next slide, we actually offer a self-assessment for all of our members, and that is the nationwide cybersecurity review. There is a QR code on there. I know a lot of you have already started this conversation because Clifford has been doing all of my job, which has been super awesome. But take this NCSR. It is a self-assessment, completely anonymous cybersecurity review. It gives you a great baseline of where your cybersecurity posture is today. You can take this every single year. See where you are today. It is okay to have a starting point. We have so many members that don't want to take the survey because they don't want to know what's wrong. They don't want to know where their vulnerabilities are, and they're like a horse on a racetrack and they just have their blinders on. Either way, those vulnerabilities are there, and it's better to know what is impacting your organization than to not and to just be ignoring all of these. It is a pretty long survey, so on the next slide, I'm going to talk about how long it is. It is 140 questions, and it covers pretty much everything in IT and in policy. It's a lot. You do not have to take it all in one sitting, and the best part is that man over there has offered to help all of the agencies in CNMI with this survey. So reach out to him, reach out to myself, take this survey, do it over a week, do it for a month if you need to, but get it done. It's only open until February 28th, so it started on October 1st. We're about a month in. You have until February 28th to get this done. It is a great assessment. It gives you a baseline. It gives you a roadmap for where you can go next week, where you can go next year. Cybersecurity cannot be done in one day. If I said, here, take all of these resources, implement them within, I'm crazy, and you would just kick me out the door. And, I'm not here to do that. I like Saipan. I've been a huge tourist, and I want to come back next week. And on the next slide, I'm going to talk about the review process. After you've taken the NCSR, about 3 to 6 months later, do a peer review. Take all of the results, we analyze them ourselves, and then we compare you to similar organizations. The territory in general will get compared to other territories. It's all anonymous, so we're never going to say CNMI is here and Guam is here, or Guam is here and CNMI is here. You know, it's not a comparison like that. It just kind of gives you that baseline to see where you are in comparison to other like-minded organizations. Next slide, please. And lastly, I want to talk about what happens if you actually are. What do you do in cyber incident response? And what is cyber incident response? So next slide, please. I like this slide. I stole it directly from our CERT, our cyber incident response team. It talks a little bit about cyber incident response and what it is. A lot of people think, oh, I got hit with ransomware. Now cyber response starts. It's not true. That's actually the last part of cyber incident response. That's the last 10%, and hopefully the 10% you never need to utilize. But the 90% is all the preparation work. It's everything that needs to be done beforehand. So it's kind of following Murphy's Law of what could happen, will happen, and preparing for something like that. So just making sure you have a plan in place. We talked about this yesterday with some of the individuals that we met with, is know who needs to make the first call. John, Bob, Tony, what are your jobs? When we get hit with an incident, do you know who you need to call? Do you know what steps we need to take? And do you know the escalation process? If you're all not familiar, you have access to FEMA, you have access to the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the MSISAC, and a bunch of other resources as well. And if you don't know how to reach out to them, reach out to us. We have contact information for all of them. We can connect you with anybody that you need to, and hopefully remediate your incident quicker than if you were just doing it alone. And then lastly, just realize that chaos is going to happen. It's not going to go perfectly. My favorite quote of all time is Mike Tyson saying, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. It's a little bit brutal, but it's true. You know, you have a plan because you think a cyber incident is going to go one way, and then all of a sudden your plan is just thrown out the window and everything is broken. So with that, I'm wrapping up. These links are awesome, but you also all can just reach out to me if you want to get any of our resources, or if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to help. But with that, that is the MSISAC. That is all I have for you today. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out. And I think I ended on time. I may have gone a little bit long. Sorry about that. Back to you.
Thank you, Brendan Montaigne. All the way from New York. Good. Welcome back. I mean, welcome to the Marianas. I guess we will go ahead. Daryl?
If you could please present the questions for the second private-public partnership working session. So, like at the first session, please do look at the questions. So the three questions for this session is, does your company have security measures for ensuring your data is secured? If so, what are they? Second question, are there any things unique to the CNMI that make it easier or more difficult, or have your company data more secured or more easily breached? And then the third is, how can we keep our internet safer in the age of technology? Everyone, this second working session is also 15 minutes, and it will be followed up by our 1 hour and a half lunch. So please, you may now begin your 15-minute working session.
Ways to incentivize everybody. We have an all-day happy hours. So if you're feeling a little bit jet lagged or a little bit mentally fatigued, we can have happy hours all day at Michelle's, right by the blue, tranquil, serene Pacific Ocean swimming pool by the beach behind us. And then, of course, all weekend long, that's for all the Marianas working group participants and registrants. Zeus Masi Aqua Resort and Spa. And of course, thank you to the awesome staff of Aqua Resort Spa here at Atsugaw, Gisangkatan, Ida sa Ipan. Thank you. Forget, we will be having business raffle. So I've been wanting a 2 terabyte So in case you win it, I'm your friend. And we can arrange for, there's awesome prizes. And in case you forget to put your card, please do so. Otherwise, give us a chance to win. But no, really, good luck.
In the next year.
So the prices are two SAN 512 gigabyte ultra fit USB 3.1 flash drive, one honest carrying case. So it's an honest case. So we're not lying here. A two type C portable SSD hard drive enclosure, 4 terabytes. One MPOW wired headphones. One CNMI professional monitor headphones. One or ID UVC disinfection and phone sanitizer. 4 Seagate portable 1 TB terabyte external drive, and 1 Seagate portable 2 terabyte external drive. So those are the prizes, ladies and germs, and gentlemen. seconds. So to keep your creative thinking juices going and to strengthen your thinking out loud caps, we will do one raffle. Just one. Yes, so to Congressman May you please pull the first winner? And the prize is oh, it's not honest, it's homest. It's a homest bag, technology bag, and it's cybersecurity safe. Oh, look at that! I'm gonna bring it to the gym, or no, to the Marpi where I go running. Yes. So it's an OMS duffel bag. See, and you can bring it on your canoe. It's rain proof and ransomware proof. Okay, and the winner is none other than Pablo Paul Rolinski. Congratulations. See, buy all the potu and the doni and the gozuria and put it in there. Back to Guam. Right on. Congratulations. See, all right. Woo. Okay, we have 5 minutes and 28 seconds before we go to lunch. And Paul is from the Guam Fire Department. Congratulations. We also want to give a plug to the Cagman Agricultural Farm Plot Association, CAFPA, locally produced.